Oh, Joe. Joe. Why you have to be so silly about this? Why you have to be so silly about this? So, Joe Rogan, one of my favorites actually. I really enjoy your podcast, especially the MMA ones and the comedic ones. But when it comes to diet, nutrition, goddamn Joe, you are really one of those people who like to hear good things about their bad habits. Damn. So Joe recently posted in Instagram these two posts. I'm gonna put them in the screen right now. And they are pretty funny. I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan is trolling the vegans and who actually know about this stuff. I'm pretty sure he's trolling us, or if not, he has this Mark guy's dick too far up in his ass or something, because this doesn't make any sense. So he links this Time article here and then uses #science. So this Time article, funded by meat and dairy industry, is now science in Joe Rogan's mind. So I don't know who wrote this, who funded this, and yeah, he talks about how carbs raise your insulin, and that's the bad thing, right? That causes diabetes, right? Like pasta, grains, fruit, starchy vegetables. Basic carbohydrate sources has gone up since 70s. But what about the meat? Has that gone up? How about the fat? Has that gone up recently? Processed food, has that gone up? Because I thought Americans aren't really eating starchy vegetables, fruits, grains enough. So what's the deal here? Let's look into some real science here. Medical doctor Michael Greger from nutritionfacts.org is gonna look into real studies, so check it out.
If you take young healthy people, split them up into two groups, half on a fat-rich diet and half on a carb-rich diet, within just 2 days, this is what happens. The glucose intolerance skyrockets in the fat group. In response to the same sugar challenge, the group that had been shoveling in fat ended up with twice the blood sugar. As the amount of fat in the diet goes up, so does our blood sugar spikes. What if there's enough insulin, but the insulin doesn't work? The key is there, but something's gummed up the lock. This is called insulin resistance. Our muscle cells become resistant to the effect of insulin. What's gumming up the door locks in our muscle cells, preventing insulin from letting sugar in? Fat. What's called intramyocellular lipid, fat inside our muscle cells. Fat in the bloodstream can build up inside the muscle cell, creating toxic fatty breakdown products and free radicals that can block the signaling pathway process. So no matter how much insulin we have out in our blood, it's not able to open the glucose gates and blood sugar levels build up in the blood. One hit of fat can start causing insulin resistance, inhibiting glucose uptake after just 160 minutes. Same thing happens to teens. You infuse fat into their bloodstream, it builds up in their muscles and decreases their insulin sensitivity, showing that increased fat in the blood is an important contributor of insulin resistance. And then you can do the opposite experiment. Lower the level of fat in people's blood, and the insulin resistance comes right down. Clear the fat out of the blood, and you can clear the sugar out of the blood. So that explains this finding. On a high-fat, ketogenic diet, insulin doesn't work very well. Our bodies become insulin resistant. But as the amount of fat in our diet gets lower and lower, insulin works better and better. Carbohydrates increase insulin, the root of all evil when it comes to dieting and health. So the reasoning goes, because carbs increase insulin, we should stick mostly to meat, which is fat and protein, no carbs, so no increase in insulin, right? Wrong. We've known for half a century that if you give someone just a steak, no carbs, no sugar, no starch, their insulin goes up. Carbs make your insulin go up, but so does protein. You think causes a larger insulin spike? A large apple and all its sugar, a cup of oatmeal packed with carbs, a cup and a half of white flour pasta, a big bunless burger, no carbs at all, or half a salmon fillet. What do you think? The answer is the meat. Now, they only looked at beef and fish, but subsequent data showed that there's no significant difference between the insulin spike from beef versus chicken or pork. They're all just as high. Thus, protein and fat-rich foods may induce substantial insulin secretion. In fact, meat protein causes as much insulin release as pure sugar.
Hashtag science. I'm gonna leave link all of those videos so you can go watch them fully. Don't just take this video for answer. Do your own research. And this is why I'm doing this video, because Joe Rogan has huge following on social media. A lot of young guys and middle-aged guys who could really use some help with this stuff, because there is huge problem with diabetes, heart disease, and then Joe Rogan puts this stuff in here, and I bet most of the guys take this as a word, like this is the science now, and they believe him without doing any research on their own. And the funny thing is, like, he talks about this outdated data that we dorks, hashtag dorks or hashtag cult uses. Is your anatomy or physiology different than your grandparents or your parents or grandparents' parents? No, it's not. And our body works just like our parents and grandparents. It has been very well-known fact for a long time what causes diabetes, what causes your insulin to spike, and all that sort of stuff he talks about here. But I bet Joe Rogan doesn't even want to hear this. When the conspiracy guys were on his podcast, it was he who talked the most of the time there, and he didn't even let the guys speak. When usually someone is in his podcast, he lets them speak, he listens up. But when they were on, he just didn't want to listen. Nah. But he knows about the stuff. I think he knows about what happens. He understands it, but he doesn't want to hear it because hashtag life eats life. And he likes to take these trips with his buddies to go kill some innocent, defenseless animals to the woods and then eat their meat. So I bet he is never going to change from it. He just likes that. He just loves that too much, I think. Do you want to hear more good things about your bad habits, or do you want to do your own research and look into real science? Joe Rogan, stop being so silly about this stuff. You influence a lot of young people, a lot of males look up to you and they believe anything you say. Get John McDougall, get Michael Greger, Carl Davis in your podcast, and just look into the other side. I know it hurts first, but believe me, you are much better off and you will feel absolutely fantastic. So thanks for watching, guys. Do your own research and see you in the next video. Bye.